I would suggest an estimate of $200,000 to $300,000.
Oh my God, that's so much.
Imagine discovering you've been living with $1 million masterpiece for years. That's exactly what happened to the ordinary people featured in this video. What they believed were sentimental keepsakes became priceless works of art worth enough to make them millionaires overnight. Welcome to the channel. From rare Picasso drawings and iconic Tiffany creations to extraordinary paintings and mosaics, we're revealing the most valuable Antiques Roadshow discoveries ever appraised. Let's see which masterpiece delivered the biggest shock. Jane Peterson painting, The Answer. Could a painting purchased for just $150 really turn into a masterpiece worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? For Carol, the answer was never an investment. It was simply a painting she loved, a piece connected to memories from her younger years, and something that had been part of her family's life for nearly half a century. But when it appeared on Antiques Roadshow, this familiar painting revealed a story that even its owner never expected.
I felt like I was in convulsions when you told me what the price was I was going to.
At the Albuquerque Roadshow in 2014, Deborah Force met a guest named Carol, who brought in a mysterious painting called The Answer that posed some intriguing questions.
The story began decades earlier, when Carol first discovered the painting. What attracted her was not a famous signature or the possibility that it could one day become valuable. It was simply the connection she felt with the image, the colors, and the emotions captured within the artwork.
I guess it was 1963, I did my junior year in Madrid, Spain. And I lived right close to the Joaquin Sorolla Museum in Madrid. I just fell in love with this.
But behind the painting Carol loved was an important name. Jane Peterson, an American artist known for her powerful use of color and vibrant paintings of landscapes, harbors, and gardens. However, The Answer was different from many of Peterson's more familiar works, and that detail immediately caught the expert's attention.
Jane Peterson did not really paint figure works like this. Some of her best-known pieces were done on the piers in New England, on Gloucester and areas like that, but she rarely focuses on just one sitter. It was just overall an exciting work. The label on the back tells us the title, and it's called The Answer, and it's very mysterious.
This unusual subject, combined with Peterson's reputation and the mysterious quality of the figure in the painting, transformed the artwork into a remarkable discovery. After nearly 50 years hanging in her home, Carol finally learned that the painting she bought purely because she loved it carried a value far beyond anything she imagined.
You said you purchased it unframed, did you not?
Yes. As I recall, I paid $150 for it.
$150. I think that a gallery in New York would be asking $300,000.
Where's the chair? Now I need that chair.
From an unframed painting bought for only $150, The Answer became one of the unforgettable moments on Antiques Roadshow. After the show, the artwork continued to prove its true value in the art market and helped Carol begin a new chapter in her life. A decision made purely from a love of art ultimately became the answer she never expected. WINFRED REMBERT MOONSHINERS painting. Could a painting purchased simply to support a local artist become a piece that museums wanted to own years later? For the owner of Moonshiners, this was never an investment. It was just a moment when she and her husband were moved by the story of a unique artist and decided to buy his work to support him. But they never imagined that the painting hanging in their home was preserving a much larger story.
This is a painting by the New Haven artist WINFRED REMBERT. It's entitled Moonshiners, and it is hand-carved, tooled painting on leather.
From the material alone, WINFRED REMBERT's artwork was already different. Instead of painting on traditional canvas, he carved directly into leather and used color to transform personal memories into images. But what made Rembert's art special was not only the technique. Each piece reflected the people, communities, and experiences he witnessed throughout his life. And his journey to becoming an artist was unlike almost anyone else's.
And he did not start creating these artworks till he was about 50 or 51. He learned to tool leather in prison, and there was a guy there he called TJ the Tooler.
Rembert began creating art later in life, but he brought decades of memories and stories into his work. Over time, his paintings were no longer seen only as personal creations. They became unique records of history. That was what dramatically changed his place in the art world. But the value of this piece would become even more astonishing.
The market has become very, very active. Museums now feel a need to have an example of his artwork.
Okay.
In today's market, retail, I would have no problem saying this is somewhere between $100,000 and $125,000.
This change was not only about the market. It also reflected how more people began recognizing the importance of the stories Rembert shared through his art. A painting once purchased out of respect for the artist had become part of a legacy that many people wanted to preserve. H.F. FARNY watercolor and gouache painting. Could a painting once valued at only a few $100s as a simple print actually be an original artwork worth hundreds of thousands? For years, this was just a familiar family piece, kept more for its personal memories than its potential artistic value. But one tiny detail trapped inside the frame made the owner wonder if the real story behind it was completely different.
So this is a painting that I was given when my grandmother passed away. It always hung right above her bed. Her dad, I'm guessing, would have given it to her after she spent the summer at a dude ranch when she was 19 in like the 40s. Not sure if it's a print or a painting, but when I got it, there was a mosquito underneath the glass. So I took it out to the front yard and I opened it up to get the mosquito out so I could take it with me to college. And then it kind of scared me a little.
Opening the frame just to remove a mosquito unexpectedly became the moment that changed everything. Because in the art world, the difference between a decorative copy and an original work can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the biggest surprise was that this painting had already been examined before, and its true value was still overlooked.
Okay, and have you had it appraised before? Do you know if she had it appraised?
It was appraised in like a general house appraisal twice. In 1998, it was appraised as a print at $200, and in 2004, it was appraised at $250.
Okay.
Everything began to change when the expert looked closer at the artist behind the piece. This was no longer just an old family painting. It was connected to one of the important artists of the American West.
So that's the artist. It's Henry Francois Farny. He was born in France. He came to Pennsylvania when he was about 6 years old.
After arriving in Pennsylvania, Farny's connection with the Seneca people helped shape his lifelong interest in indigenous communities. That influence became a defining part of his career, as Farny's paintings captured not only scenes of the American West, but also the people, clothing, daily life, and cultures he carefully studied. With this painting, the artist's reputation, the subject matter, and the quality of the work transformed something once mistaken for a simple print into a completely different discovery.
So if we were going to put this in an auction today, I would suggest an estimate of $200,000 to $300,000.
So I can't hang it up. Oh my God. That's so much. I don't even know what to say.
From a painting once believed to be worth only $200, Farny's work became an unforgettable Antiques Roadshow discovery. Attributed Pablo Picasso ballet drawing. In the art world, finding a genuine Picasso at a house clearance sale sounds almost too unbelievable to be true. So could an old box of frames purchased almost by chance really contain a work by one of the most famous artists in history?
We have one of these famous cliches in the art world which goes, I met this bloke the other day who says he bought a genuine Picasso in a house clearance sale. Where did you buy this?
A house clearance sale.
And who do you think it's by?
Picasso.
This is exactly the kind of discovery that makes experts curious, but also extremely cautious. Many works carrying the names of legendary artists have appeared on the market, but only a small number can survive the process of authentication. What made this case especially interesting was that the drawing did not come from a major collection. It came from a completely ordinary purchase.
And we stopped and we bought a beautiful 1930s Lalique plate, a little oil painting, and a box of, I suppose, miscellaneous frames, and paid about €50 for the box. And I suppose you can tell where this story is going.
So the box contains
this.
Sometimes, an important art discovery begins with something that everyone else overlooks. But with Picasso, a signature is only one piece of the puzzle. Experts also need to examine the style, materials, period, and how closely the piece connects to the artist's known works. And this drawing had several details that made it fascinating.
Yes.
I mean, it's got that wonderfully spare line. I mean, it looks like a work of the perhaps 1920s. They look like ballerinas, don't they?
Yes.
And there's a lovely simplicity in the line, you know.
Picasso was known for his ability to create powerful images using only the simplest lines. However, looking like Picasso's style does not guarantee that a piece was actually created by him. For artworks this important, official authentication is always the final step, and that became the biggest challenge for this drawing. With that challenge still ahead, the question remained, how much could this piece actually be worth?
There's only one way to get a Picasso through, and that's to go to the Picasso family and get the stamp of approval. And as I'm sure you know, that is no easy task. Sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. If it's by Picasso and it's looking good, it's worth £60,000 to £80,000.
From a €50 box of old frames, this drawing became one of the most fascinating mysteries on Antiques Roadshow.
Although the final answer depends on authentication, it represents the hope that every collector dreams about. Sometimes, an incredible work of art may be hiding in the most unexpected places. Frank's Schoonover oil painting, Privateers of '76. Could a family gift that was secretly planned for years become a work of art worth more than $100,000? For this family, the painting did not begin as an investment. It began with a wife who wanted to give her husband something truly special, something connected to his love of books and illustrated stories. But years later, Antiques Roadshow discovered that behind this personal memory was a much more important piece of art.
Well, I inherited this painting from my parents. My mother wanted to give my father a gift that he would really love. And he loved reading to his children books that had illustrations. And this is one of the illustrations.
At first, the greatest value of the painting came from the family story behind it. But sometimes, the objects preserved because of personal memories accidentally protect a piece of history. And the way this artwork became part of the family made the story even more special.
So what she did was she saved $5 from her food money every week for probably 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And didn't tell him this.
Right.
After years of saving, a little at a time, the gift she chose was Privateers of '76, a work by Frank Schoonover, one of the prominent American illustrators of the early 20th century. During that period, illustration art was much more than images placed beside a story. Artists like Schoonover created vivid scenes of adventure, allowing readers to see entire worlds through their paintings. But what made this piece even more valuable was Schoonover's important place in art history.
Now, Schoonover, of course, is one of the premier artists of the Brandywine School. And he studied with Howard Pyle, who's considered the father of the school.
Yes.
His connection to the Brandywine School and Howard Pyle helps explain why Schoonover's original works are so highly valued by collectors. The combination of painting skill, powerful storytelling, and influence during the golden age of American illustration transformed this family artwork into a remarkable discovery. And finally, the owner learned how the market truly viewed the painting.
If this were in a gallery, I think that it would sell in the range of $125,000.
I know you're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding. It's a wonderful, yes.
Really?
From a gift created through patience and love, Privateers of '76 became an unforgettable moment on Antiques Roadshow. But for the family, the greatest value was not only the number. The painting also preserved the story of the people who loved it long before the world recognized its true worth. 1945 Robert Rauschenberg oil portrait. Long before Robert Rauschenberg became a giant of modern American art, he painted a simple portrait of a fellow serviceman, and that quiet moment would one day become far more important than anyone expected. But what made this piece special was not the person in the portrait, it was the person who created it.
I brought a portrait of my father by Robert Rauschenberg. My father was in the service in 1945. I became friends with Robert Rauschenberg.
The detail that changed the entire story was the moment when the painting was created. In 1945, Robert Rauschenberg had not yet become a famous name in modern American art. This was an extremely early period when he was only beginning to explore his creative path. And that was exactly what made an ordinary family portrait become much more interesting. But for many years, the family saw it in a completely different way.
Yeah, we did. Actually, we always had two pictures on the wall, and the one was probably a $2 picture, and then this was this one, and being lime green and everything, you'd always assume the one on the right was always the more expensive one, but my dad says, no, this is signed by Robert Rauschenberg.
This is what creates some of the most surprising moments on Antiques Roadshow. A valuable object is not always lost or hidden away. Sometimes, it has been there the entire time, but the true story behind it has never been discovered. But with a major artist like Rauschenberg, a signature alone is not enough. The next important step is proving the history of the artwork.
And I think these are great because they actually show, this one right here shows your father sitting while in the Navy with Robert Rauschenberg.
Yes, exactly.
The additional evidence helped directly connect the painting to the artist. In the art market, provenance can make an enormous difference, especially with works from a rare period of a famous artist's career. And when all these details came together, the true value of the portrait was finally revealed.
I would put a conservative auction estimate of $40,000 to $60,000 on it.
Holy cow, are you kidding me? I guess it was worth more than that $2 picture right next to it. Oh, amazing.
Its greatest value was not only found in the famous signature, but also in the story of an ordinary moment preserved before a young serviceman became an art legend. Benny Andrews oil painting. Could a $45 box of old junk purchased on a rainy morning really be hiding a valuable work of art? That's exactly the kind of discovery that makes Antiques Roadshow so fascinating. No one wanted to step onto the wet grass to inspect the boxes sitting outside the estate sale. But one ordinary decision changed everything.
My son and I go to auctions, estate sales, looking for junk. It was a rainy morning and there were box lots out on the grass of this auction. And nobody wanted to get their feet wet. We really didn't look in the box, and the frame looked really nice, so we ended up getting the box for $45.
The box was brought home simply because the picture frame looked attractive. When the family finally opened it, they found another painting carefully wrapped inside for many years. Then, one small signature immediately caught the appraiser's attention.
So my son got around to it, brought the box in. This was wrapped up with another one in very old saran wrap.
This is exciting. It's a really beautiful example. You've seen the signature, you know the artist, Benny Andrews.
Benny Andrews was one of the most influential African-American artists of the 20th century, celebrated for emotionally powerful work centered on people and everyday life. What makes this painting even more significant is that it comes from the early years of his career, when Andrews was developing the distinctive style that later defined his work. That is exactly why collectors are especially interested in paintings like this. So, how much could a $45 estate sale purchase actually be worth?
I would put it at auction conservatively at $7,000 to $10,000.
You're freaking kidding me. All right, well, guess it's not going online. All right, cool.
It's an amazing find.
Right.
From an old box abandoned in the rain, this Benny Andrews painting became one of the memorable discoveries on Antiques Roadshow. Its importance goes beyond the estimated value of $7,000 to $10,000. It is also the story of an important work by a respected artist that almost disappeared as nothing more than unwanted junk, until someone finally decided to open the box. John Ray Alice in Wonderland oil painting. Could a painting rescued from a trash pile really turn out to be a work of art worth thousands of dollars? It sounds almost impossible, yet that is exactly where this story begins. One man happened to notice the painting beside an old abandoned barn and decided to take it home simply because he felt it deserved a second chance. What he rescued from that pile of discarded belongings turned out to be far more valuable than anyone in the family had ever imagined.
Dad saw this old barn or dilapidated building of some sort that had a trash pile, and he could see this painting in the trash pile. Dad was an artist, so he thought it was interesting, and he stopped and picked this up, put it in the car, and they went on about their road trip, and it stayed in the closet the whole time I was a kid.
For years, the painting simply sat in a closet as an old family keepsake. Everything changed when the appraiser noticed the signature in the corner. It belonged to John Ray, an American illustrator well known for his work on books and magazines. Even more intriguing, Ray had a remarkable connection to the world of Alice.
Well, it's signed down here, John Ray. John Ray was born in 1882. He studied in New York at the Art Students League under a well-known American illustrator named Howard Pyle. And he contributed illustrative work to about 50 books and did a lot of work for magazines as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
John Ray not only illustrated numerous books, but also created his own story inspired by Alice in Wonderland. That connection made this painting far more significant than an ordinary illustration. But there was still one more detail that fascinated the appraiser.
He also wrote and illustrated children's books, and he did write a book about Alice. He seemed to be somewhat obsessed with Alice, I think.
The painting reveals Ray's own imaginative interpretation of Alice's world, blending fine art and illustration into a style that was uniquely his. At last, the painting that had once been left beside a trash pile received the recognition its family had never expected.
I think in a retail setting, the asking price might be around $10,000.
Wow.
Not bad for something rescued from the trash.
Not bad for the trash, no.
Yeah.
From a discarded painting to one of the memorable discoveries on Antiques Roadshow, John Ray's Alice in Wonderland became a true hidden treasure. Its value lies not only in its estimated price of around $10,000, but also in the remarkable journey of a work once dismissed as trash before being recognized as a genuine piece of American illustration history. Tiffany Glass Mosaics. Could pieces of glass removed from an old building actually be the remains of a masterpiece created more than 100 years ago? At first glance, they might look like decorative pieces left behind after a renovation. But behind these glass fragments is the story of Tiffany Studios, one of the most famous names in American decorative art history. And the discovery began with a building that had been forgotten for decades.
Tell me how you came to acquire these very large and heavy pieces.
We took possession of the Farwell building in 2015, 100 years after it was built. The three main lobby glass tile domes were Louis Tiffany. They were in severe disrepair. They were not restorable.
What makes this story special is that these were not individual Tiffany objects created for display. They were once part of a complete architectural space, where glass, color, and light came together as one large design. But after many years, much of the original structure was no longer intact.
The building had been vacant for 35 years or so. Lots of things were destroyed and stolen. So we rebuilt the ceilings completely, and these are the remnants of what was there.
That is why the surviving pieces became much more important. Many historic architectural details disappear over time, but these glass sections still preserve traces of a historic Tiffany project. And even more surprisingly, their origin was clearly documented.
Well, I can tell you that Tiffany was so proud of this that they even published an ad stating that they had just done the work in the Farwell building. So this was something that Tiffany wanted to advertise prominently. And the building did open in March of 1915. And Tiffany decorated the first floor corridors with these wonderful barrel vaulted ceilings with rib vaults.
This historical record transformed the glass pieces from remnants of an old building into part of the legacy of Tiffany Studios. In the collecting world, provenance like this can make a huge difference. And finally, the true value of these century-old mosaics was revealed.
This one, I would say more like $15,000 to $20,000. This one, I would say $30,000 to $40,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
$30,000 to $40,000 on that, and I would say $30,000 to $40,000 on that.
From pieces of glass that seemed like simple remains of an old structure, they became a memorable discovery on Antiques Roadshow. Their value came not only from the Tiffany name, but also from the story of a time when architecture, craftsmanship, and art were brought together into one creation. Moglia Micromosaic Plaque of Beatrice Cenci. Could a piece that looks like a painting actually be created from thousands of tiny pieces of glass almost impossible to see individually? At first glance, many people might think this is a classic portrait. But the secret behind this artwork is that it was not created with a paintbrush at all. After years of being kept within the family, this special piece was brought to Antiques Roadshow to uncover the true story behind it.
It's a micromosaic. We don't know if it's from Italy or Russia. It's by the artist Moglia, but there's a father and a son, so that's one of the things I'd like to find out. My grandmother was an antique dealer.
What makes micromosaics so remarkable is the craftsmanship behind the process. Instead of using paint, the artist must arrange countless tiny pieces of material to create light, shadows, and depth that resemble an actual painting. But when the expert examined it more closely, one detail about the material made the story even more interesting.
Are these stone or
mosaics are stone often. These are neither ceramic or stone. These are actually glass.
These tiny glass pieces allowed the artist to create subtle variations of color, making the face, clothing, and smallest details appear incredibly lifelike. But beyond the technique, another important factor that determined the value of the piece was the person who created it.
So you mentioned Moglia. It is signed Moglia here on the margin. There are three of them: Luigi, Augusta, there was Domenico. They all flourished in the 19th century when they were making these wonderful works of art. I don't know for certain, but I think it's by Luigi.
The Moglia name brought the artwork to an entirely different level. The Moglia family was among the most important names in 19th century micromosaic art, known for transforming tiny pieces of glass into images with extraordinary detail. And with a plaque of this size, both the difficulty of creating it and its rarity became even greater.
The art of micromosaic on this sort of scale, which is actually very, very large for a mosaic, is incredibly rare and incredibly exciting to find on Antiques Roadshow. I would think an insurance valuation of $85,000.
Cool.
Would be a fair price.
Excellent.
It's an absolutely splendid work of art.
From a mysterious family object, the Moglia Micromosaic Plaque of Beatrice Cenci became a rare discovery on Antiques Roadshow. Its true value was not only found in the appraisal number, but also in the thousands of tiny details created through the patience and extraordinary skill of the artist behind it.